acting like he was inspecting something. Then, he leaned into the window, took a glance at the casket, and let out a loud, exaggerated sigh. "So what do we have here? A little road trip with a corpse?" "Officer, like I said, we're on our way to my father's funeral. If there's an issue, let us know, but we'd appreciate it if you let us continue on our way." "Your father, huh? Well, he must have been some guy. You two couldn't even afford a better-looking hearse? Tell me something. Was he a good father, or just another deadbeat?" Neither of us said anything, but the cop wasn't done yet. "I mean, no offense, but look at you two. You're driving yourselves, no fancy suits, no expensive cars lined up behind you. Either your old man didn't have a lot of friends or he wasn't worth remembering, or you're both useless kids. Just look at how ugly your shoes are. Maybe I should search the coffin. Who knows what you're really hiding in there?" I felt so angry. It was one thing to be stopped for no reason, but to stand there and listen to this man mock a dead man who had spent his life serving the law was something else. "Officer, if there's no problem, we'll be leaving now." "Oh, you'll leave when I say you can leave. This is ridiculous, we're leaving." "Not until I say so. Now step aside and open that casket." We hesitated, and the officer got angry and slapped me. "All right, how much? How much do you want to let us go?" His expression changed immediately, and I saw how hard he was trying not to smile. He rubbed his chin, pretending to think. Not all cops are bad. Some do their jobs with honor, protecting and serving the way they swore to. They put their lives on the line every day for people who might never even thank them. I respect those officers, the ones who truly stand for justice. But then there are the others, the ones who abuse their power, who think their badge makes them untouchable. I've had my fair share of encounters with dirty cops. Too many times, I've seen them pull people over for no reason other than the color of their skin or the kind of car they drive. They intimidate, they harass, and when they don't get what they want, they twist the law in their favor. I remember one from years ago, Officer Grant. It was late at night. I had just finished dinner with some colleagues and was on my way home. My mind was still caught up in the case I was working on, replaying arguments in my head, when flashing blue and red lights lit up my rearview mirror. At first, I wasn't even worried. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't swerving. My car was in perfect condition. So, I pulled over, expecting it to be some mistake. Maybe he was stopping me to warn me about a road hazard ahead or something. But I was wrong. Grant wasn't looking for a reason. He was looking for a victim. He approached my window with an arrogant smirk. "License and registration." I handed them over without a word. He barely glanced at them before shining his flashlight into my face. "Know why I pulled you over?" "No idea, officer." "Broken taillight." I frowned because that was a lie. My car was brand new, and I had checked everything before leaving the restaurant. "Are you sure about that, officer? Don't question me. Step out of the vehicle." Now, I could have argued. I could have asked him to show me the broken taillight, but I knew how these things played out. So, I did as he said. The moment I stepped out, he started patting me down. He found nothing. Then, he reached into my car and picked up my coffee cup. "What's in here?" "Coffee. Smells funny, because it has cinnamon in it." Then, just to mess with me, he made me stand on the curb while he ran my license. It took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of him sitting in his squad car, probably scrolling through his phone, while I stood there in the cold, watching other cars pass by. When he finally came back, he handed me a ticket. "What's this for?" "Failure to signal a turn." I laughed because I hadn't even made a turn. "Really? That's what you're going with? I'll make you pay for this." He thought I was joking. Through the help of my uncle, who was a judge, I took the matter up in court. Grant was found guilty and was sent to jail, where he spent 5 years and also got kicked out of the force. I don't tolerate injustice. Not in the streets, not in the courtroom, and definitely not when it's aimed at me. Here's another story of a cop who paid for his dirty behavior. This time, he fell right into hell. It all started on the day of my uncle's funeral. He was the judge who got me justice when I had my issue with Officer Grant. My uncle was known to be a man of integrity. He was feared by criminals and corrupt officials alike. He believed in justice, and he upheld it no matter what. Many people respected him for that. I was in the hearse with Jaden, his only son who had followed in his father's footsteps and was a judge too. But just when we were a few minutes away from the funeral hall, a cop pulled us over. I was driving, so I know I wasn't speeding. I wasn't breaking any laws. There was no reason to be pulled over. Jaden looked so angry.
Just pull over. Let's get this over with.
I did as he said and pulled the hearse to the side of the road. The police car stopped behind us and a tall cop stepped out. He walked up to my window, tapping on it with the kind of arrogance that made me remember Officer Grant. I rolled it down and he asked for my license. I handed them over without a word. Officer, is there a problem? Don't you know who I am?
You can be a drug dealer for all I know. It's in those eyes of yours. Tell me, what's in the back? My father's body. We're obviously on our way to his funeral.
We even had the paperwork to prove it, but the cop didn't seem to care. All he wanted was for us to step out of the vehicle. Jaden tried to keep his composure. He spoke calmly.
Officer, I think you're misunderstanding something. We're in a hurry. My father's dead body is in this car. This won't end well for you if you don't let us go. Do I look like I care about your little threat? Get out of the damn car.
Jaden and I had no choice but to obey. But before we got out, I quickly pulled out my phone and began recording. When Jaden and I stepped out of the car, we expected him to do his routine check and let us go. But instead of letting us be, he decided to make things difficult. He walked around the car slowly, acting like he was inspecting something. Then, he leaned into the window, took a glance at the casket, and let out a loud, exaggerated sigh.
So what do we have here? A little road trip with a corpse? Officer, like I said, we're on our way to my father's funeral. If there's an issue, let us know, but we'd appreciate it if you let us continue on our way. Your father, huh? Well, he must have been some guy. You two couldn't even afford a better-looking hearse? Tell me something. Was he a good father, or just another deadbeat?
Neither of us said anything, but the cop wasn't done yet.
I mean, no offense, but look at you two. You're driving yourselves, no fancy suits, no expensive cars lined up behind you. Either your old man didn't have a lot of friends or he wasn't worth remembering, or you're both useless kids. Just look at how ugly your shoes are. Maybe I should search the coffin. Who knows what you're really hiding in there?
I felt so angry. It was one thing to be stopped for no reason, but to stand there and listen to this man mock a dead man who had spent his life serving the law was something else.
Officer, if there's no problem, we'll be leaving now. Oh, you'll leave when I say you can leave. This is ridiculous, we're leaving. Not until I say so. Now step aside and open that casket.
We hesitated, and the officer got angry and slapped me.
All right, how much? How much do you want to let us go?
His expression changed immediately, and I saw how hard he was trying not to smile. He rubbed his chin, pretending to think.
$1,000. All right, I'll ask my assistant to transfer it to you. Just give me your full name.
And just like that, the idiot gave it up. Full name, badge number, everything. No hesitation, no second thought. I reached into my pocket and tapped my phone screen to stop the recording. Jaden moved away, pretending to make the transfer. Instead, he made a call to the chief of police in that area.
Chief, I need an officer arrested immediately.
He gave the chief the officer's name, told him what happened, and our exact location.
Stay put, sir. I'm sending a unit.
Jaden hung up and turned back to the officer.
Took you long enough.
Jaden didn't say anything. He just stepped forward and slapped him hard on his left cheek, sending the cop stumbling backward.
I ask you again, do you have any idea who I am?
The officer shook his head. For the first time since this started, I saw real fear in his eyes.
I'm Judge Jaden Carter, and the man in that casket, that's Judge William Carter, my father. Oh no.
He looked so scared. Before we could say anything else, he dropped to his knees.
Sir, please, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Forgive me, please.
Jaden looked down at him for a long moment. Then, without saying anything, he kicked him away. We got back into the car while the cop was still crying and begging. By the time we reached the funeral hall, the chief called Jaden.
The officer has been arrested. Good. Lock him up and torture him. I don't want to hear from him until my father's funeral is over.
2 weeks passed before Jaden finally returned to his office. During that time, the officer had been kept in custody, experiencing firsthand what it felt like to be powerless, just like the people he had tormented for years. When he was finally dragged into the courtroom, he was barely recognizable. He wasn't the arrogant, power-drunk man who had stopped us that day. He was a shell of himself, looking lean, weak, and covered in bruises. His uniform was gone. Instead, he wore a dull prison jumpsuit that hung loosely on his body. He stumbled as he walked, as if every step was a struggle. And Jaden made sure the whole world saw it. The press was there, cameras flashing, reporters whispering among themselves as the officer was forced to stand before the court. Jaden told everyone what had happened, but he still needed to produce evidence. Let's not waste time. Jason, please play the recording. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the speakers, and pressed play. The entire courtroom fell silent as the officer's own voice filled the room. Everything he'd said to us that day echoed in the room. There were gasps from people there, shocked at his disrespectful words. When the part where he agreed to receive bribery was played, everyone present was even more shocked. The murmurs grew louder, turning into outright disgust. One of the senior officers present turned to Jaden and spoke. "This is disgraceful, Your Honor. He does not deserve to wear the badge." "Then let's fix that. Officer, you are hereby stripped of all ranks and privileges. You will never again be employed in any capacity related to law enforcement." People in the courtroom clapped out of satisfaction. Justice was being served. But that's not all. For abuse of power, accepting bribes, and public misconduct, I sentence you to 8 years in prison. The officer's face went pale, his eyes wide with disbelief. No, please. I have a family. And I had a father. A father you mocked while his body lay in the back of a car. A father who served the law, unlike you. Guards stepped forward, grabbing the officer's arms. He struggled and screamed, but it was pointless. The same system he once abused was now swallowing him whole. Outside the courtroom, the backlash was even worse. News channels ran the story nonstop. Online, people tore into him without restraint. This man is a disgrace to the uniform. He bullied the wrong people and paid for it. Imagine how many innocent people he's done this to. The internet didn't forget. They never do. Every detail of his corruption was dragged into the light. People came forward, eager to see him buried even further. By the end of that week, the officer was condemned in every way possible. And I knew this would be a warning to every other corrupt cop out there. Some people think power makes them untouchable, but sooner or later, justice will catch up on them. The officer's family was harassed so much that they decided to move to another state, leaving him with no one to visit him in jail. While in prison, I heard rumors that he was nicknamed the Rat in Blue. On visiting days, the only people who come to see him are reporters eager to document his downfall. He had sent quite a few people to prison, and now that they were there with him, he couldn't escape their wrath. Someone would sneak up behind him and whisper, "We've been waiting for you," making him constantly nervous and on edge. Whenever he got his prison meal, someone would always accidentally knock his tray to the floor, leaving him hungry and humiliated. Thanks for watching.
As the charges piled up, Sandra sobbed louder.
Please, Susan. I didn't mean to. Help me, please.
Shut up, Sandra. Speak again, and I'll make sure your punishment is doubled. This is my court, and you're nothing but a criminal before me. I could see how scared Sandra got as she cried even more. Not only was she a thief, a drug addict, and a thug, she was also a drug trafficker. She'd even gambled with her parents' properties, the shock leading to their deaths. I couldn't believe how bad her life turned out to be. When it came time for me to deliver the sentence, I didn't hold back or pity her one bit. Miss Sandra, you have shown no regard for the law, for other people's lives, or for your own dignity. Your actions have caused immense pain, and for that, you will be held accountable. She cried louder, begging me to help her for old time's sake. I nearly laughed. Unknown to her, I was going to increase her punishment exactly for old time's sake. You are hereby sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. For anyone you assault while serving your term, 3 months will be added to your jail term. High school was supposed to be the best time of your life, or at least that's what people said. But for me, it was a battlefield. A war I fought every single day. And at the center of that war was Sandra. Sandra wasn't always my enemy. In fact, during my first week at Franklin High, she had been friendly. She introduced herself with a smile that, at the time, seemed genuine.
Hi, I am Sandra. You're new, right? You'll love it here.
I thought I had made a friend. We sat together at lunch, talked about our favorite TV shows, and even exchanged numbers. But everything changed when a guy Sandra liked asked me out. From that moment, Sandra hated me. Even more so at homecoming, I walked in with the guy that Sandra liked. I wore a shimmering blue gown my mom had helped me pick out, turned heads as soon as I walked in. Compliments came from every corner. Classmates, teachers, even parents chaperoning the dance. I felt beautiful and confident. But Sandra didn't see it that way. She watched from the sidelines, her face tightening with every compliment I received.
She's not even that pretty. People probably just feel sorry for her because the dress is horrible.
I didn't hear her say it, but someone told me. I didn't believe it at first because there was no way Sandra would say such a thing about me. However, the next morning at school, Sandra ignored me. When I tried to sit with her at lunch, she made it clear I wasn't welcome.
This table's full, Susan. Maybe you should try over there. And you should stop forcing this friendship between us already. I told you, I don't like you.
Her voice was loud enough for everyone in the cafeteria to hear. Laughter rippled through the room as I picked up my tray and walked away. I was so embarrassed. She never told me she didn't like me. That was a lie. From that day on, Sandra made it her mission to make my life miserable. The rumors started first. Sandra would start rumors about me and make sure they spread. I would hear students gossiping about me anytime I walked by, always in whispers.
Did you hear? Susan's family is broke. That's why she wears the same shoes every day.
I also heard she begged the principal to let her into Franklin High. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter. Sandra had a way of making people believe whatever she said. When she saw that I gave no reaction to that, she moved on to pranks. My locker was her favorite target. One morning, I opened it to find it stuffed with trash. Empty soda cans, crumpled papers, even a banana peel. The stench was unbearable.
Oops, must have mistaken it for the dumpster.
Her group of followers burst into laughter as I fought back tears, cleaning up the mess. Another time, she poured water on my chair during math class. I didn't notice until I sat down, and by then, it was too late.
Wet yourself, Susan?
The entire class erupted in laughter as I fled to the bathroom. I was so humiliated. Physical bullying wasn't off limits for Sandra either. She'd accidentally bump into me in the hallways, sending my books flying.
Watch where you're going, clumsy.
She was visibly bullying me, but no one ever called her out. She was the queen of the school, untouchable in everyone's eyes. One evening, as I was walking home from the supermarket, two masked girls appeared out of nowhere, cornered me, and beat me up. They broke my hand and ran away with everything I had bought. I was certain one of them was Sandra. I recognized her body structure and hair, but I had no evidence to prove it. The next day, when I didn't go to school because I was admitted to the hospital, Sandra spread a rumor that I was pregnant, and even posted it in our class group. So many students wrote hurtful comments, which made me feel incredibly sad and depressed. The worst incident happened during gym class. We were playing handball, and Sandra made me her target.
Catch, loser!
The ball slammed into my face, knocking me to the ground. Blood dripped from my nose, and Sandra smirked, feigning concern.
Oh no, are you okay? It was an accident.
The coach believed her, of course. Sandra always knew how to play innocent. By the end of junior year, I started eating lunch in the library to avoid her. It became a place where I could hide from the constant torment. The librarians noticed my frequent visits and would sometimes ask if I was okay, but I never told them the truth. I was too ashamed. One day, during a school assembly, the principal announced a talent show.
Show us what makes you unique.
I loved singing and decided to audition. For once, I wanted to do something for myself, something that made me happy. When I performed, the audience was mesmerized, captivated by my voice. For a brief moment, I felt like I belonged. But Sandra couldn't let me have that moment.
What a show-off. Bet she thinks she's a star now.
The next day, she circulated a doctored video of my performance, adding fake flat notes and off-key screeches. The students, both those who'd witnessed me perform, stupidly followed her, pretending like I truly didn't know how to sing.
Wow, Susan, didn't know you were that bad.
I stopped singing after that. Senior year brought some relief. Sandra was preoccupied with applying to colleges, but she still found time to torment me. During prom season, she spread another rumor.
Susan's going alone because no one wants to be seen with her.
It wasn't true. I chose not to attend prom because I couldn't handle another night of her antics. But her words still stung. By the time graduation rolled around, I was counting down the days until I could leave Franklin High behind. When I walked across the stage to accept my diploma, Sandra tripped me.
Oops, clumsy again.
The crowd laughed, but I didn't care anymore. I picked myself up, smiled, and kept walking. Leaving Franklin High was the best thing that ever happened to me. However, life after wasn't all roses. Although Sandra wasn't present again, she really left bad imprints in my life. While I had escaped Sandra and her cruelty, the scars she left behind didn't heal so easily. I found myself constantly looking over my shoulder, flinching at loud noises and doubting my every move. I couldn't make friends because I was afraid of getting betrayed. Whenever I was in crowded places and people laughed, I would think they were mocking me. It was hard to connect with people. Against my wish, I started isolating myself. Therapy wasn't something I ever thought I'd need, but it became my lifeline. For a full year, I paused furthering my education and sat in that small office, pouring out my pain to a patient therapist who assured me over and over again that I was worth more than the bullying I had endured.
You're not broken, Susan. You're healing.
When I started to loosen up, it was even harder. I lost friendships because I was always scared of them telling people things about me, even if I never told them anything. If I saw my friends talking to anyone, I would think it was about me. And if anyone close to them tried to talk to me, I would think my friends spread stuff about me and those people were coming to confirm. But that wasn't the case. At the end, I lost the few friends I managed to make because they couldn't deal with me. However, after more months receiving therapy, I was starting to get myself back. I made new friends and trusted them. My new friends were good people because they learned about my troubles and helped me with them. I wasn't alone anymore. I was able to start revealing things to them, knowing that they wouldn't tell it to anyone. They helped me make more friends, helped me fully gain back my confidence. By the time I felt ready to step back into the world, I knew one thing for certain. I wanted to make a difference. That's why I decided to go to law school. Law school was hard, but it gave me purpose. I threw myself into my studies, determined to help those who couldn't help themselves. Every time I passed an exam or won a mock trial, I felt a piece of my confidence return. I also helped students at my school whenever I saw them getting bullied. One time, I helped a girl who wanted to study nursing instead of law, but got forced to study law by her parents. I helped her sue them, and at the end, she was allowed to study what she wanted, and also got out of her parents' grip because it was discovered that they were abusive. After graduation, I became a prosecutor, handling cases that ranged from petty theft to violent assaults. I built a reputation for being tough but fair, and I was proud of the work I did. Soon, I became one of the youngest judges in the city due to my uprightness. But nothing could have prepared me for the day Sandra walked back into my life. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when the case landed on my desk. A woman had been brutally attacked by a drug addict high out of her mind. The victim had suffered severe injuries, barely surviving the ordeal. The case was open and shut, and the evidence was so overwhelming. As the judge overseeing the trial, I prepared myself for another day in court. But when the defendant was let in, my breath caught in my throat. It was Sandra. She looked nothing like the queen bee I remembered from high school. Her hair was unkempt, her face gaunt, and her once bright eyes were dull and sunken. For a moment, I thought I must be imagining it, but then she recognized me and even called my name. Memories of all the pain she had caused came rushing back, overwhelming me. I was determined to get my revenge. It seemed like Sandra knew it because she immediately burst into tears. The prosecutor presented the case, detailing Sandra's crimes. Not only had she attacked an innocent woman, but she had also been involved in multiple instances of theft and vandalism to fund her addiction. As the charges piled up, Sandra sobbed louder.
Please, Susan, I didn't mean to. Help me, please.
Shut up, Sandra. Speak again, and I'll make sure your punishment is doubled. This is my court, and you're nothing but a criminal before me. I could see how scared Sandra got as she cried even more. Not only was she a thief, a drug addict, and a thug, she was also a drug trafficker. She'd even gambled with her parents' properties, the shock leading to their deaths. I couldn't believe how bad her life turned out to be. When it came time for me to deliver the sentence, I didn't hold back or pity her one bit. Miss Sandra, you have shown no regard for the law, for other people's lives, or for your own dignity. Your actions have caused immense pain, and for that, you will be held accountable. She cried louder, begging me to help her for old time's sake. I nearly laughed. Unknown to her, I was going to increase her punishment exactly for old time's sake. You are hereby sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. For anyone you assault while serving your term, 3 months will be added to your jail term. Sandra collapsed on the floor and wailed louder. 10 years should have been enough for her case, but I wanted her to be punished more.
Please, Susan. I'm sorry. I'll do anything.
Anything? Where was that attitude when you tormented me for years? Where was your remorse when you ruined my life? This is justice, Sandra. The kind you never thought you'd face. As the bailiffs dragged her out of the courtroom, she screamed for mercy.
Susan, please. I'm begging you.
But I didn't look away. For the first time in years, I felt powerful. To finish her off properly, I made sure she was sent to the nastiest prison and given the worst cell to stay in. After 1 year and she didn't assault anyone, I paid someone to pay a warder in the prison to set Sandra up with someone. After a fight broke out between the two and the prisoner lied against Sandra, 3 months was added to her jail term. I couldn't be happier. She was completely at my mercy. If you were me, will you do more?
Never obedient enough. Never silent enough. Their abuse wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Every move they made was calculated to strip me of dignity. They started forcing me to do things no 14-year-old should ever be responsible for. They made me get a job at a dingy corner store downtown, using a fake ID they got off some guy at Dad's office. The job paid under the table, late hours, surrounded by drunks and creeps. They made me pay rent, at 14. When I told them the store manager was trying to get handsy with me, my dad laughed.
You think money comes easy? Tough it out. Maybe next time you'll appreciate what we do for you.
Then came the thefts. Mom would make me walk into grocery stores and slip toiletries, canned goods, even razor blades into my bag.
We're not made of money, Alex. You want to eat? Then earn it.
If I refused, I didn't eat at all. My mom would starve me.
Starving builds character. Maybe you'll think twice next time before refusing.
They locked the fridge with a chain. Literally, padlocked it. I had to ask for permission to get anything from the fridge as punishment. They say blood is thicker than water, but sometimes blood is the poison you're trying to survive. My name is Alex, and I was only 14 when I ran away from the people who were supposed to protect me. My parents didn't hit me with fists, but with words, silence, control. And when that didn't work anymore, they tried something even worse. I was born into resentment. Not the passive kind you read about in memoirs, but pure, targeted, and relentless. My mother told me once, during one of her vodka-fueled tirades, that she had to drop out of nursing school because of me.
You ruined my future the moment you existed.
From the outside, we looked like a typical suburban family. My dad worked in IT. My mom stayed home. We had the minivan, the holiday cards, the forced smiles in public. But inside our house, it was a prison with pastel walls. My mom controlled every breath I took, what I wore, who I spoke to, and how I sat at dinner. If I didn't match her script perfectly, she'd explode in icy rage.
You call that a smile? Fix your face before your father sees you.
My father didn't need to raise his voice. His silence was punishment enough. He would sit across the dinner table, stone-faced, while Mom picked me apart, nodding in quiet agreement. I was never good enough, never obedient enough, never silent enough. Their abuse wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Every move they made was calculated to strip me of dignity. They started forcing me to do things no 14-year-old should ever be responsible for. They made me get a job at a dingy corner store downtown, using a fake ID they got off some guy at Dad's office. The job paid under the table, late hours, surrounded by drunks and creeps. They made me pay rent at 14. When I told them the store manager was trying to get handsy with me, my dad laughed.
You think money comes easy? Tough it out. Maybe next time you'll appreciate what we do for you.
Then came the thefts. Mom would make me walk into grocery stores and slip toiletries, canned goods, even razor blades into my bag.
We're not made of money, Alex. You want to eat? Then earn it.
If I refused, I didn't eat at all. My mom would starve me.
Starving builds character. Maybe you'll think twice next time before refusing.
They locked the fridge with a chain. Literally, padlocked it. I had to ask for permission to get anything from the fridge as punishment. Then one time, I got caught stealing from a store. The manager threatened to call the cops. I begged. He let me go with a warning. I told my parents what happened. My dad punched me. My mom watched.
You're lucky he didn't call the police. Next time, don't be so damn obvious.
Even the smallest acts of rebellion came with punishment. One time, I left my homework on the kitchen table instead of putting it in my backpack. That night, Dad burned it in front of me.
If you're too stupid to follow instructions, maybe you shouldn't go to school at all.
Mom laughed. Not a cruel laugh. Worse, an amused, entertained one. Like I was a show she was enjoying. They made me scrub the floor with a toothbrush, not because it needed cleaning, but because I rolled my eyes at dinner. My knees were raw. One night, I got home 2 minutes after curfew, 2 minutes, and found the front door locked. Lights out. I banged, called, cried. They watched me from the upstairs window, then shut the blinds. I spent the night in the garden shed. No blanket, no food. It was winter. My toes turned purple from the cold. I thought I might lose them. Part of me hoped I would. Then I'd be taken to a hospital, and maybe someone would notice. But no one did. They didn't just break my body. They broke my mind, made me question reality, gaslit me daily.
You think I said that? You're crazy. No wonder no one wants you.
You're lucky we put a roof over your head. You should be thanking us.
Some nights, they'd go out drinking and leave me alone for hours. Other times, they'd cancel plans just to torment me.
We were going to take you to the movies, but your attitude ruined it.
I had done nothing wrong. But in their world, existing was a sin. I began writing letters. Not to send, just to cope. Letters to a future version of me. One that was free. Dear future Alex, I hope you sleep through the night. I hope you aren't afraid to laugh. I hope you don't flinch when someone raises their voice. After writing that letter, I went to the kitchen. I was so thirsty. I poured myself a cup of water, hands shaking, and spilled it. A few drops hit the floor.
You think this house is a playground?
He beat me so badly I couldn't stand. That was the night I knew. I had enough. I stuffed my letter into my backpack, grabbed the $23 I'd saved from lunch money, and fled into the cold. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away, before they broke me in ways I wouldn't come back from. I crashed at a 24-hour library my first night. The janitor caught me curled up behind a row of encyclopedias, but instead of calling the cops, he brought me a blanket and let me stay in the staff lounge until sunrise. His name was Miguel. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a peanut butter sandwich and pointed toward the showers in the basement.
You didn't steal anything. You're just trying to make it. I've seen worse.
Over the next few weeks, I bounced from park benches to shelters, to the back room of a diner where the night manager let me sleep if I scrubbed the floors. It was hard, but it was free. I could breathe. Eventually, a woman named Camille found me. She ran a youth advocacy center, and she noticed me scrounging from a trash can behind her office. She didn't scare me like most adults did.
You've got that look, like you don't trust anyone, but you want to. Come in, just for food, if nothing else.
I followed her in. That choice changed everything. Camille helped me get into a transitional housing program for runaway youth. She even got me re-enrolled in school under an alias so my parents couldn't find me. For the first time, I felt safe. But the scars they left on me weren't just emotional. My parents had filed a missing persons report, not because they missed me, but because they didn't want to lose their grip. When police tracked me down 6 months later, I had a choice: go back or fight. I fought. Camille got me a lawyer. Her name was Dana. a sharp, no-nonsense woman who specialized in child protection cases. I remember the first time I sat across from her in that cramped legal aid office, my hands shaking and my voice barely above a whisper. Dana didn't flinch. She listened. She took notes. She believed me. We gathered everything: my testimony, school records showing a sudden drop in grades, medical history indicating signs of physical and nutritional neglect, Miguel's written statement from the library incident, and even the photos I had secretly taken of bruises and padlocks on our refrigerator. Camille backed me up every step of the way. The court hearings were grueling. My parents tried to twist everything. They claimed I was a troubled child, a liar, a runaway addicted to drama. They had a lawyer, too. Some smug man in a shiny suit who kept calling me the minor, like I was a case file, not a human being. But when the judge played one of the recordings I had, my mother screaming, calling me names unfit to repeat, and my dad laughing in the background, the room fell silent. Dana stood up, calm but firm.
This is not discipline. This is cruelty. This is long-term deliberate abuse.
After weeks of testimony, cross-examinations, and social worker evaluations, the court ruled in my favor. I was assigned to Camille's guardianship until I turned 18, with full protective measures to ensure my parents couldn't come near me. For the first time in my life, the system had seen me, and more importantly, it had believed me. But I wasn't satisfied with survival. I wanted them to feel what I had felt. Over the next 2 years, I documented everything. I sent anonymous tips to Child Protective Services. I shared photos, audio recordings I had secretly made on that old burner phone, of their shouting, their cold dismissals, their manipulation, the bruises they left. I even sent them to Mom's church group and Dad's employer. I filed complaints through whistleblower forms and leaked their abuse online. Their faces were splashed across Reddit, TikTok, and Instagram under the hashtag #ParentsFromHell. I narrated the videos myself, disguising my voice. They went viral. The fallout came fast. My dad lost his job when internal HR reviewed the anonymous audio of him calmly agreeing to let my mom call me worthless, trash, and worse. My mom was forced to step down from her community charity board after anonymous letters with printed transcripts of her rants made their way into every mailbox on the street. My mom was fired from her part-time charity gig and publicly shamed. Her ladies' brunches and fake smiles couldn't save her from the truth that spread like wildfire. No one came to her defense. Her friends unfollowed her. The church revoked her volunteer title. Their house was vandalized. Child abuser was spray-painted across their garage door. They blamed me, of course, but they had no proof. I wasn't done. I used one of their old usernames to sign them up for every scam newsletter, fake charity, and adult mailing list I could find. Their inboxes became unusable. Their phone numbers got blacklisted by spam filters. Then I sent one final gift: a box of burnt receipts, broken belt buckles, and a photo of me, smiling. Enclosed was a USB drive containing every shred of evidence I'd ever collected. No return address, just a sticky note. You raised exactly what you deserved. Camille never asked questions. She just noticed when I smiled for real.
You look lighter.
I guess I finally cut the last thread tying me to them. I graduated early, with honors. I got a scholarship to study social work. It felt poetic. I wanted to become what Camille was for me, a safe place in someone else's storm. The last time I ever saw them was on TV. A local news station aired a story about a family imploding after abuse allegations and viral exposure. They denied it all, of course. Called me a liar. Said I was mentally unstable. But it didn't matter, because I was no longer that scared, silent kid trapped in their house. I was someone they couldn't control. Someone who didn't just escape, but made sure they would never hurt anyone else again. Some people say revenge is petty. I say it's justice dressed in survival. And I survived, not just to tell this story, but to live and thrive and make sure others like me get the same chance. Because no child should have to run to feel safe. But if they do, I'll be there waiting, like Camille was for me. Because sometimes the best revenge is breaking the cycle completely. Thanks for watching.
However, shock froze me as the necklace was found in my room, in one of my drawers.
You steal now, Sally? Where did I go wrong with you?
I can't take this. I can't raise a thief. You're leaving my house today.
I cried and went on my knees, begging them desperately to not send me out. I'm not a thief. I didn't take her necklace. Believe me, please, don't send me out. My pleas fell on deaf ears. Jake threw my things out and urged my parents to let me go. Of course, they weren't unwilling. I was sent out of my parents' home. Have you ever felt like the least favorite among your siblings? Or have you been shown by your parents that you're their least favorite child? How did it feel? I have experienced it, alongside hatred from my siblings, and I'll share it with you. My name's Sally, and I was born as the middle child. I had two siblings, Penny and Jake. Penny was 3 years younger than me, while Jake was 3 years older than me. My parents were quite wealthy. I mean, we had our own house, 2 cars, and they both ran a small company and a fashion brand. I couldn't remember my experiences before Penny was born, but I knew that as she grew, Jake liked her more. He would always hit and hurl insults at me on the slightest provocation, but Penny was his beloved sibling who didn't deserve any of that. Jake and Penny were very brilliant and would often top their various classes. I was brilliant too, but there was high competition in my class. I was always coming second or third, the top ones only having a slightly higher percentage than mine. But it didn't seem satisfactory to my parents.
They study well, that's why they're able to pass you. Study harder and top your class too. Your siblings do it so easily.
You're older than Penny, but your unseriousness is starting to make it appear the other way around. You should look up to Penny and Jake and learn from them.
I was a sensitive child. Words like that got to me, and it would make me cry. However, my family always got annoyed and called me a weakling. My parents will ignore all my birthdays, but will celebrate that of Penny and Jake, and will make me clean. After the celebration, according to them, I won't amount to anything, since I wasn't as intelligent as Penny and Jake. My parents were bad, but my siblings were insane, especially Jake. I had no idea what wrong I did to him. He was always so happy whenever he got me into trouble with either Penny or my parents. Once, I got mercilessly beaten up by Penny. I was 16 then, and she was only 13. I'd just had my bath after returning from school. As I went to sit at the dining table to enjoy my meal, Jake suddenly came up to me, wearing a devilish grin. "What do you want, Jake? I'm not in the mood for your annoyance, please. I'll appreciate it if you leave me alone now."
Oh, I'd actually come to tell you something important. But since you've asked me to leave, I have no choice.
I didn't say anything. I didn't even lift my eyes from my plate. He walked away laughing. I wondered what it was that he wanted to say. I became curious. The only time Jake ever came to me like that were times when he put me in trouble. Yes. Jake loved to see me getting punished. He would lie against me to my parents, and without asking for my side of the story, they would punish me. Jake was always at a corner, chuckling happily to himself. He also did it to Penny. He would lie about me saying something, and Penny, with her bad temper, would come and fight me. Penny had grown bigger than me. She would easily pass as my elder sister, and that made her even more comfortable bullying me. Whenever Jake liked to make Penny beat me up, he made sure my parents were going to return late so that I'd be asleep before their home. Just after I finished eating and attempted to stand up, 2 hands pressed on my shoulders, forcing me back to the chair. My heart raced. I knew it was Penny. No one else could do that. I turned and saw her behind me, holding a frown.
How dare you? How dare you call me a fat pig in front of your friend?
I didn't even have any friends, so how could I have said that about her? I tried to tell her what she heard was a lie. I don't have any friends, Penny. I only speak to my classmates at school, and it's only a few of them. They sometimes don't even respond to me.
That lie isn't gonna work, Sally. You're a liar and a freaking pretender. All you do is hate on me and talk bad things about me because of your stupid jealousy.
I swear to you, Penny, I've never spoken ill of you to anyone.
You have. You always do. Jake tells me every time. Right, Jake?
Just then, Jake showed up again with a mischievous smile on his face.
Yes. I heard her on 2 different occasions.
Her friends also told me. According to them, they felt sad for us because Sally's our sister, and all she does is badmouth us. Well, you especially.
Before I could speak, Penny slapped me. I screamed and fell to the floor, feeling the pain pierce my cheek. Tears quickly gathered in my eyes as I stared at them in disbelief. My own siblings. Jake is lying, Penny. I never said anything bad about you both. I don't have anyone to even say anything to.
Shut up, you liar. You're so filthy. I can see why Mom and Dad hate you. You're ugly, dull, and filled with jealousy and hatred for others. I'm going to make sure Mom and Dad punish you.
Next time, be careful of the things you say. It's unfair to speak so ill of people, especially your siblings.
I cried as I watched them walk away. I tried to go to my room, but I found out that they'd locked my door. I guess they needed it to be easier for my parents to punish me. I sat down on the cold kitchen floor until my parents returned home. Once they settled in the living room, my siblings tabled their lies before them. The next thing I heard was my dad calling my name loudly. Fearfully, I walked out of the kitchen and went to them.
Are you crazy? How could you do such things about your sister?
I'm so disappointed in you. How can you be such a hater? She's your sister. They're your siblings. I can't believe you.
I had no idea what they told my parents. Jake lied. I didn't say anything about them to anyone. He's lying against me. My tears and pleas weren't enough to save my ass from getting whooped. Jake held me while my parents hit me, and Penny stood away from us, smiling happily. They were cruel to me, but I couldn't hate them. I couldn't bring myself to hate them. I kept my distance and only spoke when spoken to. Jake and Penny didn't stop taunting me. Whenever my parents weren't home, they would insult me and follow me around, annoying me in any way possible and daring me to respond. Of course, I never did. I knew too well then to say anything. Responding would only mean getting whooped by my parents who never listened to me. Time passed, and I was soon done with high school. On my graduation day, Jake had an event in college. My parents chose to attend his event and ditched my graduation.
It's just a party. Jake's event is more important. He makes us proud.
I'd rather be at his event than be at your graduation when you won't even be announced as the best graduating student. It's too embarrassing.
Of course, I felt bad. Regardless, I enjoyed my graduation. I didn't speak to anyone, but I felt good being among the students. I had to stay at home for 1 year because my parents didn't feel the need to send me to college yet. Since they hastened my sister's education, she graduated 1 year after I did. My brother had skipped class that day to attend her graduation. My sister wasn't the best graduating students, but anyone could see the pride smiles on their faces as they clapped and yelled out congratulations to her. I cried a little when I went to the restroom. That night, when we arrived home, my parents gifted her a very beautiful necklace. I hadn't gotten anything. She shoved it in my face, telling me how she was our parents' favorite and how they loved her more. My parents heard all of that and simply laughed about it. 1 week later, Penny suddenly cried from her bedroom.
Someone has stolen my necklace.
The whole house went into panic as we began looking around for the necklace. Jake suddenly suggested for everyone's rooms to be checked. I didn't have any opposition. However, shock froze me as the necklace was found in my room, in one of my drawers.
You steal now, Sally? Where did I go wrong with you?
I can't take this. I can't raise a thief. You're leaving my house today.
I cried and went on my knees, begging them desperately to not send me out. I'm not a thief. I didn't take her necklace. Believe me. Please. Don't send me out. My pleas fell on deaf ears. Jake threw my things out and urged my parents to let me go. Of course, they weren't unwilling. I was sent out of my parents' home. They took my credit card and all the cash I had, leaving me stranded. It was a tough period for me. I roamed around streets, begging for money from anyone I came across. A few were kind enough to give me, but others simply shamed and pushed me away. Luckily, a good Samaritan found me and helped me. I told her all about what happened, and she felt so bad for me. She took me to her home and helped me with a job. After 2 years of doing multiple jobs and saving up enough money, I was able to move out and get my own apartment. The lady had become like a mother to me. I'd grown to love her so much. Life was tough, but I didn't give up. I worked so much harder. I was also able to begin my college education. After 4 years, at age 26, I started my fashion company. I hadn't heard about my parents' business for years, but I didn't care. I worked so hard to grow my company. Fortunately for me, people soon began showing massive interest in my brand. Soon, big brands began seeking collaboration with me. Life was beginning to go smoothly. By the time I was 28, I'd become one of the young rich ladies in the country. My business largely expanded with branches in 5 different countries. I built 2 houses. The kind lady who assisted me lived in one with her husband and children. We were all like a family. Surprisingly, my parents and siblings showed up in my house one day. Jake was on a wheelchair and Penny was heavily pregnant. My parents looked so old and tattered. They were seeking help from me. Jake had been rendered crippled in jail after a failed robbery attempt. Penny had gotten a great job, but had been scammed by her ex-boyfriend who'd pretended to be an investor. He'd not only scammed Penny, but also my parents. They'd already gone broke after spending a lot to bail Jake and have him treated. After Penny's ex-boyfriend absconded with their remaining wealth, they were reduced to church rats. They lived on the streets and fed by begging people. It was exciting to see them suffering. Perhaps it was karma for what they did to me, for all the trauma they gave me, the years I had to live with constant panic attacks, the sadness I felt, everything. They begged for money and a place to live, but I refused them. I would rather burn my money to ashes than help you all with anything. Get out of my house and don't let me ever see you again. They continued begging, my parents in tears, but I refused. I called on my guards who threw them out of my house. They were unfair to me throughout my life and never regarded me as their child. I don't have any reason to treat them well. Tit for tat. A few months later, I heard Penny had died during childbirth, and the news of her passing had caused my dad to have a heart attack, and he died as well. So my mom now takes care of my crippled brother, and she cleans people's houses to make a living. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. 2 weeks later, I went grocery shopping, and on my way back, I was kidnapped by 3 guys.
If you don't give us our share, you are dead meat.
I was tied to a chair every night and tortured. One day, they forgot to tie me up, and I escaped through the window. My parents were so happy to see me again, but I had bruises and was too scared to step outside again. One day, Sally suddenly showed up in my window. I was scared to see her. Hi guys, I'm Jenny, and I almost got arrested for a crime which my twin sister committed. My parents had been shocked when the ultrascan revealed that they were having identical twins. They absolutely weren't expecting 2, so they'd bought things for just 1 child. It had been so hard to get matching items after the scan, but they'd managed to get everything before we came. When people saw us, they were always amused. We were so identical that our parents had to give me a mark on my right leg to differentiate us. Well, you'd have thought it would be so cute when we grew up, but the reverse was the case. My sister Sally was the embodiment of mischief. She was always committing one crime or the other, and mostly the blame fell on me. One time, around the age of 7, my sister had poured over half of our cereal away. When she came to get me in our room, I followed her as quickly as I could to help her with it. While gathering the cereal carefully, my sister excused herself to use the restroom. However, she didn't return alone. She came with my parents. When they asked about who did it, Sally pointed at me. I tried to deny it, but the circumstances all pointed at me as the culprit. I was punished for it, and that made me feel so sad and betrayed. However, that night, she apologized to me with the excuse that she was scared of getting punished. I forgave her, knowing how weak she was when it came to punishments. Unfortunately, she never stopped. Sally would make mistakes and blame everything on me. I would take it without complaining because there was no way I could prove that she was wrong. She did it at school once, and I nearly hated her for it. I was in my class when a senior student suddenly walked in with a professor. He pointed at me immediately.
That's her. She's the one who assaulted and beat us up.
I'd never seen that senior in my entire life, so I knew it wasn't me but Sally. I turned to her for a moment and saw that she was trying to hide her face. I rolled my eyes, tired of keeping up with her shitty attitude. I faced the senior and professor and told them they were mistaken. The professor refused to listen and instead took Sally and I with him. When he got to his office, we were made to stand while he called our parents. I felt so disappointed, knowing he would call my name first. Well, he ended up just saying the twins. He asked about where we were the previous day. My parents told him that I was home with them while my sister was out studying. He then asked what we were wearing, and my parents told him. Then it was out that Sally did it. Rather than take responsibility for her actions, Sally began crying.
Jenny made me do it. She said she hates him and asked me to help her beat him up.
I was dumbfounded. I knew she was lying because she didn't want to be punished alone. But I couldn't afford to allow myself to be punished for something I had zero idea about. I asked the senior if we'd ever spoken, and he shook his head negatively. His response made it even worse, and I immediately regretted why I asked.
I have never spoken to either of you in my entire life. She suddenly came to attack me.
I knew I was done for. Him confirming that he'd never spoken to us made it sound like I truly hated him, and saying my sister suddenly attacked him, alongside her statement, made it seem true. The professor asked me why I sent my sister to beat someone up, but I denied. It hurt so much to see my sister continuously lying against me in such a situation. I was forced to call on my classmates for help. Thankfully, all of them attested to me being a good and peaceful girl. One of them, fortunately, had seen Sally watching the senior about thrice. The girl who confessed to having seen Sally was the head of our class, and the professor trusted her words to be true. With the evidence now pointing at her, Sally confessed.
I'm so sorry. I didn't intend to beat him up. I also didn't intend to lie against you, Jenny. Please, forgive me. It will never repeat itself. I don't know what came over me. Forgive me, please.
We were all deceived by her tears. I was forced to forgive her. After all, she's my twin. The professor also apologized to the senior, who forgave Sally too. He felt bad to see her crying. After we left the professor's office, Sally burst out laughing. I was shocked.
Oh my God, I can't believe they folded so quickly. Whoa, tears surely work every time.
My mouth hung open in pure surprise. She was crying just a few minutes ago. I was afraid to even speak to her. At that moment, she seemed so dangerous to me. I avoided her for the rest of that day. It got to a point where I began to hate the fact that we were twins because Sally kept getting us in trouble. And most of the time, she twisted the blame to fall on me. She got to know the power of her tears and never failed to use it. I felt so bad that we were twins. After our high school graduation, we began preparing for business school like we've always planned. Well, not always, because Sally was against furthering her education after high school. She still maintained her stance when our parents informed us about wanting to start searching for a good college for us.
I'm not gonna waste my time doing that. I want to open a tattoo parlor. Got it? I don't want to sit behind computers all day. I don't have the brains for that.
If you won't do business, then think of something else. I won't allow you to start a tattoo parlor. That's ridiculous.
I agree. I can't let you waste your life like that.
Well, it's my life, isn't it? Let me live it, okay?
I was surprised to see her speak to our parents in that manner. Even worse, we woke up the next day to find her room nearly empty. Her bags were gone, and so were most of her things. My parents were confused. They looked for her everywhere they could, but couldn't find her. The few of her friends we knew, we checked their homes, but she wasn't in any. We were all devastated. My parents blamed themselves for being the reason for her disappearance. I tried to comfort them, but even I was not doing okay. It felt like a part of me had been stolen. After a whole year passed, we stopped looking for her. We'd involved the police earlier, but they couldn't find her. We concluded that she didn't want us to find her and had hidden herself properly, so we stopped looking. I'd registered at the business school already and was facing life as a college student. Contrary to what I'd thought, business wasn't so hard. In fact, I was thankful to my parents for helping me make that decision. Life kept going until my first month in year 3. I suddenly got a strange mail delivered to the house. I read it and was filled with fear. It was a stranger threatening to kill me. I was afraid. I always avoided getting into fights or even offending people. So who could be trying to kill me? I showed it to my parents, who asked me to wave it off, saying that it could be someone playing pranks on me. I believed that for the first 2 times. But when the letters kept coming afterward, I knew it wasn't a prank. Someone was after me. I decided to write back to the sender, asking who they were and what they wanted. Their next letter answered my questions. Apparently, they knew Sally a year back, and she'd joined them in a robbery attack, but she absconded with all of the money and they were out to kill her. I begged them, telling them I'm not Sally, but they refused to understand and asked me to pay for it. They didn't care if I was Sally or not. All they wanted was their money. As if that wasn't enough, I was returning home one day from school when a woman suddenly began harassing me. She grabbed me by my shirt, requesting for some money. I was embarrassed and pushed her off. "Who are you? I don't owe you."
Shut up, Sally, you liar! Pay me my money this minute or I'm calling the cops on you.
I was so confused. The woman refused to believe that I wasn't Sally. Eventually, we found ourselves at the station. There, the police listened to our stories and figured out that I wasn't Sally. The woman apologized to me in tears. According to her, Sally had scammed her and her husband of $3,000 she promised to be surrogate for them and then disappeared. The cops promised to find Sally and get her money. Once the lady left, I reported the case of the unknown males, and the cops promised to look into it. I dropped my contacts before leaving. When I explained to my parents, they were downcast and felt bad for me. 2 weeks later, I went grocery shopping, and on my way back, I was kidnapped by 3 guys.
If you don't give us our share, you are dead meat.
I was tied to a chair every night and tortured. One day, they forgot to tie me up, and I escaped through the window. My parents were so happy to see me again, but I had bruises and was too scared to step outside again. One day, Sally suddenly showed up in my window. I was scared to see her. She looked so tattered. I opened the window and let her in, but she pushed me back and brought a knife to my throat.
I need to hide here for 2 days. If you tell anyone I'm here, I'll kill you. Got it?
I froze in shock. I was so scared, so I agreed to be quiet. She slept in my room that night. I didn't ask anything. I was too scared to speak. When I prepared to leave for school the next morning, she warned me again against telling anyone, and I promised to be quiet. But I lied. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't afford to be blamed for her mistakes every time. My life was at risk too. She needed to be punished. I didn't go straight to school. Instead, I stopped by the station. I told the cops that Sally was at my house, and they assigned 2 cops to go with me. Sally trusted me, so she was caught off guard when 2 cops burst into my room and arrested her. On our way back to the station, I called our parents, and we all met at the station. After days of investigation, it was discovered that Sally had been involved in robbery, kidnapping, and scamming. The cops were able to arrest all of her fellow robbers in a month, and they were charged to court. They all had multiple crime cases. Sally, for her 3 cases, got 30 years imprisonment. As the cops took her away, she kept screaming her apologies to us, especially me. And that moved me to tears. But how was I sure she was truly sorry? She has always been so cunning. But in the end, she got what she deserved. I couldn't afford to have my life endangered because of her. After that, my parents and I lived a happy life. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying, "I subscribed," and we'll do our best to reply to your comment.